the one and only Bitstorm, a game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me as always is Ben Slinger.
Yes, I am. Hi.
Thought I'd change it up a bit tonight.
Yeah, I noticed. So there was that little hesitation as you were like, what comes next? Because I've completely gone out of the flow of what we normally do.
Yes.
But no, you saved it. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, welcome to Bitstorm.
Yeah.
I think we're
episode 2-0-something.
Yeah, I have no idea where we're at now.
209, I think it is.
209.
209. A tenth of the way almost to 300 from 200.
Sorry, I'm just dreaming. I'm just like reminiscing about those other 208 episodes. I think we're just going to do some click pitch to start off with.
Yeah.
So this is a game where we each have a random word generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we're each going to get 2 words. So this is our ramped up click pitch variation, an adjective and a noun, and we are going to turn those words into a game design. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. We'll explore it.
If you haven't listened before, welcome.
Yeah, if this is your first
time, you're in for a ride.
So let's jump into it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Shouting volunteer.
Observing chunk.
I'm seeing this as like some sort of volunteer who happens to, I don't know, see something that he wasn't meant to.
Well, so where I went with this is there have been these monoliths showing up recently.
Yep.
Which are presumably just like art pieces that people are doing, they're playing a prank or whatever. But I kind of like this idea that this strange chunk of metal, mysterious thing shows up somewhere and everybody's coming, they want to see it. And so there are these volunteers who are helping to protect the area.
My question is, does this appear in the middle of one of those counting rooms where all the volunteers were, like, they're counting all the ballots and all this sort of stuff, and all of a sudden there's just during the election, there's all of a sudden a monolith just in the center of the room, and like, everyone's like, was that there a minute ago? Observers, did you see it? Did you see it? No, we were looking at the ballots.
No, we'll go with that. You said it, we'll do it.
We don't have to.
So I'm just trying to picture this scene and what the implications are of a strange alien monolith appearing in the middle of an election counting room, ballot counting room during an important election. Is this aliens trying to, like, rig the election in some way? Or is it a time traveler? Maybe it's a time traveler who's come back in time.
To stop the rigging from happening. Or the rigging was actually...
Or to change the results in some way.
They just got the timing wrong. They were supposed to come back just after all the counting had finished and then change all the ballots.
Either that or they were coming back just before and they were going to, like, campaign for Trump or something. They're these fucking awful MAGA aliens.
So let's not do this, and let's go back to yours where there's all the volunteers trying to stop people from stealing.
Alright, so I'm sort of picturing this scene, and I don't know where the game is in this yet, but of maybe it's like the government versus like the UFO watchers or something. Like they're there because they're like, no, we have to protect this. It's like some sort of alien artifact, and if the government gets their hands on it, like, we'll never see it again and we'll never know what it's about. And the government's there trying to come and take it and lock it down. Okay.
One little wrinkle that I'm going to put in. You're playing the government.
Okay. You play a government agent of some sort?
Yep.
That's fine.
What I like about that is you can actually explain why we don't want people around this thing. You can go into the fact of, like, it causes mass sterilization or something like that, you know. And you being a lowly agent, you may only get, like, small little pieces of this. You're having to try and get in there and get intel on it and then leave and then come back, and you're trying to basically...
I like the idea, because I'm just trying to think of the journey here and what the gameplay is. I like the idea of this being the journey of this agent as they make their way higher in their agency and get promoted. And with each promotion comes new revelations of what's going on, right? So, yes, as a lowly agent, you're essentially told, oh, it's probably a prank, but we need to keep everyone away from it because, like, yeah, it's giving off low levels of radiation or something.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the scene looks like. I don't know what sort of game this is yet, but you're essentially talking to people there.
I see this almost like a hitman sort of thing where you're walking through crowds and you're trying to keep a low profile because you're sort of sneaking through and you're able to talk to different people. And obviously you can't approach the monolith too closely and all this sort of stuff. And basically you're getting debriefs as you find out more things. Like, I don't think there's necessarily in this 5-day period or whatever that you've got to try and capture this monolith by then.
I'm thinking this is set over months now.
Months. Okay.
Because you are going through these promotions and you're essentially proving yourself at each point, but each time it shifts a bit. So I'm thinking even maybe that first scene is almost just a prologue and you're playing like, one of those just government agents who's like standing around just waiting for shit to go down, just sort of the on the ground agent. And you're essentially watching like these volunteers, these protesters like shouting down the government who are coming in and trying to get them away because 1, it's dangerous, but also 2, they want to take control of the area.
So is there like a fringe like observer that you occasionally see that you can maybe talk to?
I could bring that. Yeah, I mean, I was just taking observing as like the people are coming to see it, but we could bring in something higher level like that. Maybe it turns out they're like the leaders of your agency or something.
Yeah.
It's actually run by aliens.
But I think that in this case, the people that you're working for are literally trying to do a good thing.
Yeah, look, let's go into the realm of science fiction and talk about a government that's actually trying to do good for its citizens.
You waited till I just was having a sip.
That's fine. I mean, I think you still obviously you don't make that clear from the beginning necessarily. I like the idea of there being questions about that, especially as, you do get some people who are maybe violent against the protesters as they're pushing back and stuff in that initial scene. And then something happens and you take control of the scene and then it's like, okay, you're getting a promotion. You're up to clearance level C. And we can tell you that, we suspect that this is of alien origin and, we need to...
And that it's not made of one of the known elements. Like it's...
Yeah, I mean, we techno-babble it away of, like, this is something we haven't seen before, or at least this is something we need to control. And then maybe, you've got a scene of, maybe it is more of a Hitman-like scene. It's like, okay, but we think that someone in the protesting group knows this as well, like we need you to infiltrate and, like, find intel or something.
Yeah.
And then you do that well and you get, okay, you're now clearance level B. It's like, actually, we've known about aliens for some time, and this is actually a message from them and we need it to decode it because it could be incredibly important.
Yeah. And if it gets into the wrong hands, then, the life on this planet as we know it could actually end.
Yeah, like if it gets opened in the wrong way or something, like without the right codes, it's incredibly dangerous. And so, I don't know what's that next step of gameplay.
Well, I think what they then authorize you to do is sort of lead a strike team to sort of get in and get out without being caught, sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, that's good, like stealth stuff.
Causing
there's this huge
cause a distraction over in one side of the camp, and less casualties the better, and it's all about how quick you can take this down without anyone actually finding out. And then your final sort of mission is it's almost the chase scene out of there, where the leader of the now cult of the monolith is glowing eyes and all that sort of stuff because he's actually been converted into like
he's been too close to it for too long. Yeah, I like that. And then it's like, okay, and you did that really well. Now you clearance level A, and actually your bosses are aliens, and this was a message from their home planet. And not only does it contain instructions for a what could be used either as a world-destroying bomb or endless energy forever, but also a care package from their mum with their favorite snacks. And they really needed it. They really needed those jibble jabbles. They haven't had them in millennia.
Jibble jabbles. What I would like to see is if you fail that last mission, what happens to this? I'm thinking it's a cold fusion bomb or something like that.
Yeah.
It's all around the cold fusion, and it's like schematics on one side, and it's Or it's like it's a triangular monolith, but if you open it up, it's like it's got infinite space inside, and it's actually got the components inside that you need to build it. So
yeah,
it's not just the information; it's literally
like a pocket dimension in there. Yeah, monolith of holding.
don't put the smaller monolith inside the bigger monolith, otherwise you create a rip in time.
That's actually how you create the energy. You just have to then put that all into an even larger monolith to contain it, and then plug in your iPad to charge very fast.
And then you put a Dyson sphere around it.
It's the only way to be sure. All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Opponent prejudice.
Absorbed monarch.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I've just got D&D in my head right now, and I've got like the gelatinous cube absorbing a monarch and sort of like the monarch becoming one with the gelatinous cube and sort of like taking on some of the like the best of both worlds. I love the
idea of a gelatinous cube on a throne.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay.
It's kind of like the blob from outer space, but he's sentient and he's absorbed the leader, but has actually become one with the leader. So the leader is now both blob and leader.
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
They share their consciousness, essentially.
Yeah.
Is this a world where, is this the first time this has happened? You know, usually it just digests them, but for some reason this time it's merged, or is this just how this species works?
This is how it works with royal blood.
Oh, okay. It's a special bloodline thing.
Yeah. Like you could even show during the prologue or something like that, you actually see in the bloodline there is like another amorphous blob who's sort of like integrated into this family somehow.
Right.
So the royal blood is actually, they've got this
genealogy, like their family tree, and it's royalty, so it's a very narrow tree.
They go all the way down, and it's like, you know, it's like there's Vicky, there's Blob, there's Harry. Hang on, Blob.
Yeah, we're not quite sure why great grandfather Blob was named that. It's not a very common name. You know, there are words. I think maybe he was just fat and it was a nickname, but
his nickname was Gel or Gel.
And then the king was out hunting. I think the king was out he's one of these like adventure kings, you know. And so he was down in the dungeon, you know, searching for treasure or saving someone or something.
I'm looking for treasure.
He's an adventure king, but he's just very like flamboyant as well. That's fine.
I kind of see this character as almost like a King Graham from Daventry in King's Quest.
Yeah, exactly.
But
like
he's just he's merged with like this amorphous blob.
So then for the rest of the game, I'm almost picturing it as like something like Yes, Your Grace, which is essentially you're sort of just making decisions about the kingdom, and you go around and visit the different spots in your castle and talk to the different family members and different people and stuff, and there's sort of a story that progresses as you do that, and you can make different decisions. But it's all, I think in the meantime, you've got this dialogue going on in your head between the blob and the king. Like there's at some level they're still separate and conversing. And then when they agree on things, that's what they say.
Does this also bring into the idea that the problem with the amorphous blob is the fact that it eats humans normally?
Yeah.
Like that's its food.
Yeah.
And it still needs to be satiated somewhat. So it's kind of like that season 4 of Angel where you've got the god who will kill a couple but will make everyone happy.
Yeah.
And you've got that kind of morality tale of...
Are these some of the choices you can make around, do you just feast and be a king who is hated, or do you sentence people to execution by dinner?
Execution by merging.
Execution by... I'm gonna eat you for lunch.
Execution by in my belly. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, ribs.
I want my peasant back, peasant back, peasant back ribs.
Chili, baby back lips.
Yeah, I like that. So what else thinking there for a moment? Could this work in VR? Because I was kind of picturing the idea of
grabbing people and just pulling them in.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. I was more thinking, I was coming at from the idea of like this little monologue, the dialogue that's going on in your head between your two sort of semi-conscious beings and like having them almost like the angel and devil on your shoulder. Not actually, obviously it doesn't quite work to actually look at your shoulder, but like having them sort of off to either side and seeing them sort of floating there and popping in and popping out as they have their say, and then you get to choose like which you go.
Okay, picture this: you're in VR, and the first scene is fade from black,
okay,
and you sit up, and first you hear, "Okay, King, now we've got to choose this," and you're looking over there, and like there's this kingly being, and then all of a sudden you look off to the side, and he goes, "No, I think we should eat some peasants," and you turn around, there's like this huge blob.
This blob.
And it's like,
I like the idea of it being that first scene, and you can do a flashback to show how it happened. And get a scene of playing the king like slashing through
like
the dungeon.
It flashes to white, and then all of a sudden you see, you looking through the king's eyes, and a blob comes down in front of you, and you go to fight it or something like that, but you lose the fight.
Suck your arm in, yeah. Yeah, totally. And then, I'm sort of picturing this, it could actually be really cool sitting there on a throne in VR and you hear a big echo as the door opens and some knight comes in who, has come back from an adventure party or whatever to tell you what they found, and you make some decisions, and then, the peasants come in or farmers or whatever, like, hey, we need, money for this. Do you want to give it to us?
I heard that you stole some bread. Get in my belly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's it. You can essentially set, like, literally everyone who comes in, there's an option to just eat them. And sometimes that might just completely cut off storylines that you otherwise would have seen. Sometimes it's the right thing to do.
It's like the Prime Minister comes to see you and it's like, "So, we've got some problems."
Yeah, exactly.
And so you never find out about the army amassing at the border.
Well, and then maybe obviously if you knock off key people, it might just make the rest of the game really difficult because you're going to be attacked in 5 days and there's no time to do anything else.
Yeah, but then if you've eaten enough peasants and you get big enough, you can literally just roll over the whole army. And
so it's a cross between Yes, My Grace and Katamari Damacy.
Yeah. But instead of picking up lint, you're picking up peasants.
Love it. All right. Push on quick.
I reckon this is the last one of these, and then we'll go into something a little bit different.
Sure. Brave device.
Accumulated flexibility.
Okay. A flexible device.
Well, I was actually thinking when I saw the word accumulated and flexibility that it's almost like a Fantastic Four sort of thing where you've gone flying through space and the gamma radiation or whatever it was gave you the Stretch Armstrong-like abilities of Mr. Fantastic.
I don't know a lot about it, but why don't we literally just do what a Fantastic Four game would look like if it was... I was going to say if it was good. We might not make a good one, but if it was designed by us. So,
okay.
Who we got? We've got Stretch Armstrong.
Yep.
Richard Reed? Reed Richards.
Reed Richards.
We've got the Invisible
Sue Storm.
Woman, Sue Storm. She can do force fields too, right? She's essentially Violet is based on her from Incredibles. We have what's his name?
The Thing.
The Rock guy. Is he the Thing?
Yeah.
I thought it was the Thing, and I was like, no, that's something else. All right, then we have the Thing, and then we have Fire Kid.
Yeah, but I seem to remember Fantastic Four cartoon, I seem to remember there was actually a cartoon that had, like, a robot.
Little...
H.E.R.B.I.E, the fictional robot.
Arms. Well, we can put in the robot if you like. So, look, Fantastic Four is usually against Doctor Doom, right? That's like the main kind of villain of their piece.
So I think that the cool idea is to actually, instead of having, Johnny Storm, you've got H.E.R.B.I.E, humanoid experimental robot B-type integrated like electronics.
Okay. Instead of,
because for some reason, maybe maybe Johnny Storm didn't want to be part of Fantastic Four.
If it's in the Ultimate Universe, I'm pretty sure he ended up going to high school with Peter Parker at some point. So that may just be when he was off getting his high school diploma. Okay.
So that brings the device in.
Oh, right. Gotcha.
That's the only reason why I'm bringing it in.
Whatever.
Because...
Reed Richards is like some uber scientist. I feel like covered device. But no, we can go with the weird niche canon thing of Herbie the love
bot. Name of the episode title.
So I think this is VR again because
I'm not going VR on this one because I don't know how stretchy arms are going to work with.
Well, I know how it's going to work. I want to throw my arms forward. And then they're out there, and then as you move your hands around, they're moving on the end of your arm over there, and you can crawl up a wall and grab stuff and then suck them back.
Okay, so is this a 4-player co-op?
Oh shit, 4-player co-op VR?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's think of the mechanics for this stuff and how it would work in VR. So yeah, I think obviously Reed Richards, yeah, you can just sort of fling your arms out there. You've probably got a button. If you're holding down the grip or something, they go out, and when you let go of the grip, they or something, I don't know, whatever, or the trigger, and then because you want to be able to grip stuff while your hands are out there, but essentially you're flinging your arms around, and you can do grapple points and stuff that as long as you sort of fling towards them, it'll grab, and you can swing.
I mean, there's just something about you're in the middle of a battle and you've got your Sue Storm character creating barriers and shit, and can go.
So I think Sue Storm, you've essentially got just on your hands, you've got sort of fairly large-ish barriers that you can move around to block stuff.
That you can do that, but then if you're powered up enough, then you can create a huge barrier when you go out to the side, and it creates a bubble
around all of you.
All of you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Then you got the Thing who just goes in and just smashes shit.
Yeah, he's just smashing shit and throwing stuff. He can just pick up stuff in the environment.
Oh, and of course because of VR is awesome with scale.
He can be bigger.
He can just be bigger and have to duck down getting into doorways and shit.
Yeah. And then what the fuck does Herbie do? What are his abilities here?
Maybe it's a 3-player co-op then.
But it's the Fantastic Four.
It's a 3-player co-op and Herbie.
Oh, I see.
It's actually a 4-player co-op, but just no one wants to ever play Herbie.
I think you can have Herbie and the other 4. I think Herbie can be an addition.
Okay.
From what I'm seeing here, he was just created by Reed Richards, and
So
then I think you've got Johnny Storm.
So flame on and you can fly and shit.
Flame on and you can fly. You can maybe blast fireballs at people.
This is one of those things where I swear, in order to actually flame on, you have to actually say it. Flame on.
Yeah, bring in the audio, bring in that for sure. Well, and then as your thing, you have to come in with it's crushing time. That's not what it is it? It's what's his?
It's clobbering time.
Clobbering time. Clobbering time. It's stretching time. I'm Reed Armstrong.
and then Sue Storm goes, it's bubble time.
Bubbles. No, I think that could be cool. Almost a Destiny,
looter shooter.
PvE loot shooter. What Avengers eventually tried to be, but do it better.
I mean, when we played the beta, it wasn't too bad, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't buy it now.
No, I wouldn't play more than the beta. Look, it was okay. It didn't feel... You just need to make them feel like the superheroes that they are, right? And I think giving them more skills that are sort of... Because in Avengers, it sort of just felt like, well, everyone's just pummeling people in slightly different ways.
Yeah.
Make it more asymmetrical. Give them different reasons for needing to stretch and clobber and go invisible and create shields and fly and throw fireballs.
Okay, so I'm picturing for the single player campaign that when you do get that whole Fantastic Four all together, you can switch you can teleport basically into any one of the people to like do the next. You know, you need to stretch and then move your hand so that you can pull the lever.
Yeah, I think do it a bit more as a Lost Vikings-esque, or you know, where essentially it's like, okay, use the right person to get through this thing.
Yeah, but you can also just hit like a command button and say, everyone group up on me, so that you don't have to manually move every single person to you.
Oh yeah. No, or they're just AI controlled or whatever, right? Like for at least just combat and following you, and that sort of thing.
I mean, I'm imagining combat. You know, you're sort of going through like this big boss. You beat him up as like Reed Richards with massive pumped up hands, and then you know you switch over to Sue Storm and she's like causing like stealthy shit happening and bubbles and making sure that the thing isn't.
I think Sue Storm would be the most challenging one in combat to make fun, because you don't want to just be sitting there like, oh, put a shield, put a shield, put a shield.
Put a shield and crush two people between it.
Well, that's where you maybe want to do it, that you're creating these, like, you've maybe got force fields that you can throw at people, or control in some way like that, where you're controlling them remotely with your actual hands and you're like bashing things with them.
Oh, you can create a force field around this person and then like shake it up like a you know, like a paint can.
See if you can break the ragdoll physics. Yeah, that could be cool, actually. That could make that more fun. Just give her some flexibility with those force fields and be able to kind of use them as essentially big battering rams and physics objects that can just
It then kind of turns every single character into a clobbering sort of monster. But
yeah, which I mean you do risk,
except for Johnny Storm, where you
Avengers thing,
where you're doing flamethrowers everywhere, basically.
Yeah, I think you just need to make it. No, you just need to balance it well enough so that because Sue is valuable as like,
stealth,
if you are playing co-op, then she is valuable as like a support character to be essentially like buffing armor and like creating a force field around. But it's a strategy thing. It's like, okay, like everyone needs to be near me so I can put this shield up. Yep. But also then like when that shield goes down, you're all in one spot and someone can, you know, hit you with an area of effect or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What I'm wanting to see is like some of those things that I think Simpsons did, and like in the 4-player beat 'em up arcade one, where you could like join together to combine attacks.
Combo attacks of some sort.
I want to see like a Johnny Storm firing off his flamethrower at Sue, who then deflects it with like a bubble into
a bunch of enemies or something.
Into a bunch of enemies,
or or firing a big like flame blast into a force field, which then closes and just like throws into a mass of enemies. It just explodes.
Nice. I'm picturing like Thing can use Mr. Fantastic as a slingshot. Sort of.
Yes. Totally. That's awesome.
Johnny Storm can like heat the Thing's hands up to like pretty high temperatures, almost molten, and just like as he's pounding on people, is just performing.
Just having molten rock hands for a while, and then he just heals it, you know, just cools off, does more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that a lot.
I don't know what melted plastic would smell like, but I don't think that you want to get Johnny Storm near
Mr. Fantastic. No, I'm just picturing him like stretching out his arms and just melting in the middle, just like drooping down.
And that's the intro scene, and that's when he decides we need to actually build like better.
We need a love bot.
They fire Johnny Storm.
Pun not intended. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
It literally wasn't. No, what are we going to do now?
Okay. Did you have anything in mind?
We haven't done something for a while. We haven't done Second Chance Click Pitch for a little bit, so
okay, yeah.
You want to bring that up?
That's true, we haven't. All right. Podchaser.com/Bitstorm for all your Bitstorm needs. And other podcast needs, of course. And we'll go to episodes, Pizza Delivery Pro was the
I think
last
that
one,
was the
believe.
last one that we did.
Yeah, so we are going to look at... Second Chance Click Pitch is a new game that we sort of brought in recently where we go back to our episodes from over 200 weeks ago, over 200 episodes ago, and look at the prompts that we used back then, choose some of them, and essentially give them a second chance, see what we can make with them this time, trying to avoid, obviously, what we did
the first
time, which we generally can't remember because it was like 4 years ago. So we're going to go all the way back to episode 6 called Jiggly Bits, which was featuring Reese Smith of Pine Fire Studios, who were at the time working on H.E.R.B.I.E. I think, unfortunately, it never came out, but
it's a shame because it looked awesome.
Really cool at the time, and we will have three words because there were 3 of us. So
yes.
Here we go. I think we're going to start with Ice Leg Author.
Ooh, okay. I'm not sure where we went on this.
I have no idea.
But the first thing that comes to mind is Everest and someone like an author, like sort of a walking simulator. He and his partner sort of trekking up there. But whether we change that to Antarctica and sort of investigating stuff happening in Antarctica, you've got you and a friend, and it's effectively like it's a journey across Antarctica.
Did you ever play Kentucky Route Zero?
I've got it, never played it.
Okay. I need to finish it sometime. But it was a very sort of slow-paced, introspective game where there were a lot of moments where you were just kind of slowly moving across the screen, but like stuff would be slightly changing or there'd sort of be some storytelling going on. So I was almost picturing that because I'm picturing these 2 people like trudging through the ice and snow across this like barren Antarctic landscape, and you're controlling them, but at that point it's very much an evocative moment. You're maybe telling some story, maybe there's some dialogue happening, you're getting some like dialogue choices and stuff, but it's all about this fairly minimalistic, like just the sound of the snow crunching and the wind sort of blowing by and just this very desolate feel.
And you could almost bring in almost like mirages, like in the desert. Like you think that you see something in the distance.
Well, or even just as a storytelling device of as you discuss this stuff, because maybe it's just these 2 people and they're like learning more about each other's lives. But in the background, you're sort of seeing these like shimmering reflections of what they're discussing, you know. So it's not that they see them necessarily, but it's a representation of what they're talking about. So
has one hurt their leg and therefore they're like dragging the other one through the snow, and you're hearing like that scrapiness with the crunch of the snow, and then just, you know, them trying to get to the next camp, like next campsite.
I think I like that. I think the main gameplay is just walking like that. It's because it is sort of this walking simulator sort of thing. You've maybe got some sort of directional thing or whatever, but it's essentially wherever you go, you'll make it to the next camp after that sort of bit of story goes. I think you've got dialogue choices, so you can like find out more things or maybe take some slightly different conversational paths. But yes, this person's hurt themselves and they're getting worse, right? Like
gangrene setting or
frostbite. Yeah, like the legs getting blacker. And then you've got these like moments in between where it's like, okay, we got to the next camp. They're deserted. Like there's no one there. They know where they are and they can get in. They've got the code or whatever. They can get some supplies. And you have some moments then around like that sort of, it's a different sort of desolation then when you're just like all alone in this fucking dark.
So do you, I know that it's not good to like call it right out there, but I think Antarctica and I think The Thing. I like the idea of just seeing a little bit of stuff around, like that could potentially hint on it, but like the layout is just slightly a little bit different. Like there's just something not quite right, but then you continue on and that's all that's said about it.
Okay. So it's more of almost an Easter eggy sort of
Easter eggy homage, but
back the lore kind of idea of what's happened here. Yeah. That's
I kind of like the idea of if they get lost, how do they actually work out where to go next? Because they can't use a compass.
Oh, a compass, that's true.
Because no matter where they're going, it's always going to be either, if they keep on going west, they're just going round in a circle.
I mean, depending on how close you are to the South Pole, yeah, but I don't know. How
everything's north.
Or North Pole, or whatever. How do they navigate at the poles?
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to do our research and figure that out. I mean, I was thinking that from a gameplay perspective, there's not actually a lot of navigation that needs to be done. It's more just like whichever way you walk, as long as you're walking in generally the same direction, you're going to reach it after a certain point. And essentially you see like the sun, well, again, depending on the time of year, the sun's not going to go down. So it could just be completely in daylight this whole time. Which just adds another thing of like you don't know how much time has passed.
And so when you get to, you know, your location and, you know, you're able to contact like the you're able to, you know, use the radio there, you're able to contact,
get onto the ship or whatever that's near, you know, that's out.
Yeah. And now you've got to try and help this guy to survive the next 2 nights or whatever it is.
Oh, that's interesting. So then it becomes more of a like, okay, you're in one place, but it's almost a resource management sort of make sure you've got enough, you know, stuff left over. And this feels very much like a No More Robots game, who actually did Yes, Your Grace, which we talked about earlier, but they did The Gods Must Be Watching, and they've done some other ones where it's very much this character-based stuff, and the gameplay is sort of about using limited resources or just making decisions, which often have big consequences. So yeah, I really like that. I love that feeling of just evoking that space and that situation, and then and then the game's just exploring it. Like that's fine. It doesn't have to be super challenging necessarily.
It can be, you know, to keep his mind off it, you keep on talking to him and you're finding out more stuff about.
It's essentially a story game, but with some interaction and really good, like, sound design and stuff. I think the sound design would really make it.
Yeah. Especially if, you know, you get through the first night and where you're expecting them to be able to land the helicopter or whatever. And they literally say, no, the storm's too thick.
Yeah.
You're going to have to wait for another 24 hours.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's barely any food, and so therefore you got to ration.
Go and search out. It's like, oh, like there was an abandoned camp, you know, that you can probably reach within the day, and then you have to go out without them to get these rations. It's like, are they going to be alive when you get back?
But you've got a radio, so you're still able to keep that contact with them.
Yeah. That would work.
Yeah.
I'm also picturing, I just want to, just the other thing was, I like the idea of, you know, as I said, with the sound design, you like initially kind of each crunching through the snow, crunching, and then, you know, as his leg gets worse, it's like, oh, now it's like crunch, drag. And then eventually you have to like put them on a stretcher or something. Like you have to fashion a stretcher or like get one from the camp or whatever. And so then it's like crunch with like shh as you're like pulling it along, like just really changing that up to get a different feeling as it progresses.
And really as you get slower, because obviously you're running out of energy, so
yeah, absolutely,
you can always hear your feet dragging through the snow.
Yeah,
as you're really struggling to pull the guy along.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like the idea that this guy's pretty much going to survive. Mm-hmm. Unlike some of the other ones that I've sort of played through, where to sort of make it a poignant moment, you know, they end up killing off your only friend. But I like the idea of having this triumph, of feeling like, yes, you've actually made it. Yeah.
Yeah. You the helicopter finally comes, lands, you bring them over, you put them in, you hop in next to the pilot, and you're like, oh, thanks for coming to get us. Like, I'm so glad that Johnny survived this whole thing. And the pilot's like, what do you mean? You've been alone here this whole time. You were stationed here by yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
Your friend died nigh on 30 years ago. Why, tonight's the anniversary.
This camp has been abandoned for the last 30 years.
Why, it was tonight, 30 years ago, that the massive massacre happened. Okay.
Okay.
Get us one
do
more.
another. Yeah. These are all weird. We must have had the complexity up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with cereal totem garbled. Cereal with a C. So, like the breakfast.
Okay. A cereal totem makes me think of like a cult based off of like the
like Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Yeah, you get either Snap, Crackle, and Pop, or you've got like Tony the Tiger and the Fruit Loops bloody Toucan Sam. And just
Count Chocula. These are all American brands, but we don't actually have good like cereal mascots here. So
I think Snap, Crackle, and Pop is actually
Snap, Crackle, and Pop are here. They're on Rice Bubbles, yes, but like otherwise, it's like and the Cornflakes Rooster.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where people kind of they didn't like cereal has been gone for years, but the mascots have stuck around and so they're almost indistinguishable from gods now.
Yeah,
I do like the idea that the big gods are Snap, Crackle, and Pop, and you know that they're coming by the sounds that they make, and that's what well I'm picturing that's what parents tell their children, like don't be naughty or you'll hear the snapping, the crackling, and the popping.
So this is these are vengeful gods.
Oh, they think they are.
Or at least some sects use them as.
And then you've got the lesser gods of your, they're great.
yeah. Tony Tiger is like your optimistic, Jesus figure. No, you don't have to relate it to actual religions, but they're great. And is sort of like I think Toucan Sam is kind of like the god, like Dionysus, like the god of wine and lust and sugar and right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Frosted Flakes are also sugary, but that's in a different way. And then Count Chocula is kind of actually like Santa Claus because he only comes around once a year
and gives presents to the kids if they're good, but sucks their blood and kills them if they're bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did that part of the vampire myth did survive.
Yeah.
They don't actually know what chocolate is. So,
well, I was actually thinking that instead of like just toys, he leaves little chocolates for the kids if they've been good. Okay. But he sucks their blood and kills them and turns them into other like minions of evil. If
Chocoholics, Chocolites,
Choc elves,
Choc elves. Yeah, Count.
Elflets. Elflets. Instead of chocolate, elflet.
Elflets. Cocoa elves. Anyway. We'll focus group that. So what is the game? Is this a real-time strategy? Where you play one of Snap, Crackle, and Pop's
Is this like Darksiders where you play Snap in one, Crackle in the next?
The three mascots of the apocalypse. Fuck it, yes. Yes. And as you like explore this world where they have been worshipping you for 1,000 years, which itself was 1,000 years past the actual fall of civilization.
So are we just calling it serial killer, but it's actually like serial killer Snap, serial killer Pop, serial killer Crackle?
Well, I don't know that we necessarily. Do we make it action based like Darksiders, or is it more like an RPG like The Witcher? And you're like going around, and people don't actually recognize you because like the statues and things that they've made of Snap, Crackle, and Pop Like they look like the mascots, but you're just a regular person. But you are wearing a kind of funny bulbous hat.
I do like the idea of it being a what's it called? Like, sort of like an action RPG.
Yeah.
But a lot of your attacks are like sound based.
You just let out an almighty snap.
Or the snap is the sound of your enemy's bones breaking.
That's why now you know why they call me Snap. Crackle is like uses a lot of fire and flames.
Yep, and Pop is just popping eyeballs
just
left,
heads and eyeballs,
left, right, and center.
Yeah, eyeballs and testicles.
In a combo, he could do both at the same time.
And so does occasionally Tony Tiger show up to like plead with you to like spare this village?
Because they're great.
Because they're great. They're great. Please don't kill them. They're great.
Yeah, and I like the idea that as you go through, like, literally, I think you're in 3 different eras. You're trying to sort of bring the brothers back together. And it's kind of like if you ever played Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, which was a Zelda title for the Game Boy.
No,
if you played through both of them and finished them both, at the very end, you actually got a mission that like was sort of like showing the overarching like enemy and all this sort of stuff. Right. I think if you beat all 3 games, which released simultaneously.
Well, either that or we do it as 3 acts of the same game through. But I like what you're saying of different eras, and so they're traveling through some of the same places, and so you see the aftermath of what your previous brother did like 200 years ago.
But the first person to go through is like the second person in the line. So if you know what I mean, like your first act is Crackle. And you're going through and you're seeing some of the aftermath that you haven't caused yet.
Well, the only problem with that is that I was thinking it'd be cool that based on the choices you've made as Snap, that Crackle might see different things. Like they go through the town
and see the door that you busted open.
The great city of Kellogg, and they either see it, raised to the ground, or they see it, sparkling
prosperous
and prosperous. Based on the choices
that then gets raised to the ground.
Well, then you can raise it to the ground and fucking Pop can deal with that in another 200 years. Because fuck Pop.
So what caused them to become unstuck in time?
The fucking Tricks Bunny.
Either that or the Lucky Charms leprechaun. Was sick of them stealing their Lucky Charms. So he sent him into a different dimension.
There are any other good cereal mascots that we can button it up with. I mean, both of those are good, but...
There you go. The Sultana from Sultana brand.
There's not much.
Uncle Toby?
Uncle Toby. Apparently the rooster has a name. It's Cornelius.
Ooh. I kind of like the idea that, like, the person who's actually caused all this is Cornelius, the rooster.
The rooster was behind it the whole time. Yeah, we really just don't have... Like, Australia just does not do cereal mascots other than Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Like, none of these are familiar. That's bizarre.
I mean, there is a Nesquik bunny because Nesquik do a cereal now.
I was looking at that, but that's...
I don't even know if he's got a name.
I guess we do have Fruit Loops. I guess that's something we have.
I think we used to have Tony Tiger because I remember Tony Tiger from the TV. Because they're great.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, no, I think it was Cornelius Rooster, and he, as the uber god of Kellogg's, right? Mm-hmm. Because cornflakes are like the main Kellogg's.
Is it Kelloggtopia that they all live in?
Kelloggtopia?
Yeah.
I think it's just Kellogg. I think the city's just Kellogg. And then you have all these other, cities around, based on, you've got like Sultana of Bran and
the Sultan of Bran.
The Sultan of Bran, yes. The Weetabix Mountains.
You just bring in a whole heap of the other cereals and just, maybe Kellogg with a C. So it looks like Cellog.
It's all off brand. Well, I mean, things would have diverged and been lost over 2,000 years. So
yes, but in reality, like Kellogg's is still going to go, hey, we've got a trademark on all these motherfuckers.
We'll just license Kellogg's. It's fine. They'll be fine with their cereal mascots massacring villages of peasants.
As long as the villages of peasants are by Sanitarium or by Uncle Toby's or...
Uncle Toby is like the lord of the land.
Okay, let's do one more, but this time we're going to do a movie just to finish off.
A movie to finish off. All right. So this is just a quick game. We get a random movie. We use the title or the description or or the movie itself if we know it to essentially do a video game tie-in. So let me know what you got, Trevor.
Gold Diggers: The Secret of Bear Mountain.
I like it. Okay. What year?
1995.
All right. I got the Kevin Smith classic Jersey Girl. Classically not well received, but I quite like it. But I don't think it makes for a great video game tie-in. So I think let's go with Gold Diggers. What was
The Secret of Bear
Mountain.
Synopsis: 2 teen girls, one from the city, one from the country, try to find the hidden gold of Bear Mountain, learning about friendship, loyalty, and courage along the way.
Okay.
So I like this as like a...
Yeah, I think let's take the general synopsis.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the whole girls from the city thing, but I like the idea of 2 characters who come to start a gold mining company, essentially, right? They're
I know. I like the teenage girls being protagonists, but because we haven't seen the movie, we're not going to go to the same place that they did.
Well, I was thinking gameplay wise, this could be a good opportunity for a kind of not full on Minecrafty, but SteamWorld Diggy or sort of Terraria or a crafting and digging and creating your mining operation kind of game. In this space. So
you can sort of... Is it a game where you need to keep engineering in mind? So you need to actually create your buttresses sort of thing
to a degree at least. I think it's more about
you can't just dig straight down and think that you're going to survive.
No, it's not Minecraft in that way. It's more about you're building your rail cars to get the rubble in and out and having to, brace your tunnels, and it's a bit more realistic in that way. Obviously, you don't want to go too far down that road to make it just boring and hard to deal with, but, maybe that, for all of the, supports, then we're going to have a lumber, some sort of lumber facility. So now we need to, set that up and have that automated and...
Okay, so why is it called Bear Mountain?
Well, it depends on how you spell bear.
B-E-A-R, bear.
Okay, all right, we're going with that bear. Well, again, you could do it either that there are a lot of bears, that could be a challenge.
Don't let the bears get in the mining operation.
Well, I just mean
they love gold.
Because I kind of I think it is still a little bit. So I'm picturing this as either third or first person, and it's co-op, right? I'm sort of picturing this as a co-op. You both play one of these characters, and together you're making the decisions on how to set up this mining operation, including your camp and your food supply and your lumber supply. And though, I think you automate it in a way. There's a little bit of kind of
Satisfactory,
Well, yeah, whether you go full Satisfactory where you're setting up the actual production lines.
I'm thinking what you can set up is
put a lumber mill down, then it's going to bring in someone who works there, and they're going to like go through, maybe you hire someone who works there or something, and they produce lumber.
What I think that you could do is you could have like, sort of like your lumber gathering robots. But if they're out for too long and they're not watched after well enough, sometimes bears can come and attack them, and then you got to go repair the robots
rescue
and
them essentially.
Yeah. So you've got
them or something.
You got that sort of stuff happening. If you basically spend all your time in the mine, but you didn't like set the sentry guard out the front, then you could actually have bears in the mine, and that's really scary.
Okay, because I like the idea you said robots. So maybe we take this into a slightly sci-fi direction. Is this not Earth?
Oh, so these are nightmare bears. Like
they're like they're bear-like creatures, but they're fish. Like they're not just
they're terrifying
native wildlife. They are they're actually coming to attack you, and then it does make this. It's not just a sort of calm, satisfactory like. I mean, I know there are enemies in Satisfactory, but like or Stardew Valley sort of thing where it's like, oh, build all this up or whatever. It's like, no, you need to deal with attacks and defense and. It's a thing. I mean, I think Factorio and stuff has that sort of stuff too, right? But the focus is just around, rather than some of these games which bring in all these different economies essentially and different resource chains. I think we keep the resource chains relatively simple, and it's more about making it efficient and profitable, right?
Profitable for the company that you work for.
Well, or just the company that you've created or whatever. But like, because I did kind of like the idea of, that you set up like a lumber mill and then you have to buy the robots for it, right? Like there are costs involved with the rest of the operation. So there's not that you have to set up this whole automation thing to like deal with trees and get lumber or whatever. It's like, no, we're going to build a lumber mill, and then we're going to use some of the gold that we've mined to buy 3 robots, and that's going to provide us with a lot of lumber that we can then use to expand the gold mine. And it's more we're focusing on, okay, well, making the gold mine efficient because this powered minecart goes through here to pick up stuff and come back. Like, you do automate that aspect of it, but it's more about the internals of the mine and elevators and, grabbers and stuff.
So can I give you my idea that I was building before
I went automation on it?
Before you went automation on it.
Okay.
So that's a really cool idea, and I do like that.
Yeah.
But because it says hidden gold of Bear Mountain, I see this as almost like a Goonies, like sort of pirates have laid traps and stuff. Yep. And it's called Bear Mountain because the mountain like has a vague shape of a bear's head, like at the very top. And so, it's sort of like it's just a name in itself. But then there's been some like a local like escaped convict or something who's come back to try and capture the gold. And so it's that sort of Goonies-esque traps all the way through. Legend of Curly's Gold.
Yeah.
City Slickers, but gold diggers.
Slickers Junior.
Yeah, I know. I like the adventure.
Yeah. I can see that. So is this then like a co-op kind of third-person platformery? Like
I was actually thinking, it's more because I've been playing the Room lately. Like playing through all the Room games, I'm seeing it almost more that puzzle solving of you've got a map and it's got some like clues written on it, and as you're in there, you're sort of like
the clues and like solving the puzzles.
Yeah.
Okay. So could be interesting to mix those actually, where you have like areas of sort of platformy, like climbing exploration and stuff to get to the next clue. You're like following it on the map. I mean, I guess almost a little bit like Firewatch, where they had, your overall map and you go to the different areas. But then bring it in a bit more cryptic puzzles like the Room, games where, it's about like matching symbols and finding the right like thing to plug into a box to open it up because whoever has hidden this gold has like put it behind layers of puzzles and traps.
And then if you remember in the Goonies, there was like that music puzzle where they were like playing the skeleton keyboard.
Yep. They had to play the right notes.
Which is, those sort of things, like, as a kid, it just intrigues me that, like, these kids got to go on this amazing adventure, and I never got to go on something like that. Like,
you didn't you get your Goonies adventure? Everyone else did, Trevor. We
Damn
all
it.
found, like, hidden pirate ships. I found, like, a buried spacecraft from an alien race. It was amazing.
Oh, you bastards.
Met a friendly alien.
I must have slept in too long. I remember when I was a teenager, I used to sleep in till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I must have missed it.
That was it. They always started pretty early, those adventures.
Maybe it's like jury duty that only certain teenagers got picked out. Like you got a letter in the mail, and
you've been selected to have a cool,
Goonies adventure,
young teen Goonies adventure, Goonies TM. Steven Spielberg funded this so that every kid in the world.
Unfortunately, because you're the fat kid, you get to play Chunk.
It's all right. Chunk is a fucking hot ass lawyer now, so good for him.
Okay, so I reckon that gets us to the end of tonight's episode.
Yeah, I think that's it. So thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm.
Oh, thank you, Ben.
Well, yeah, you too, Trev, always. But I was talking to our listening audience.
Oh, damn it.
If you want to find us online, we would absolutely love it if you'd leave us a review on Podchaser. Go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm and drop some reviews there. We'll see them. We'll respond to them. Let us know what you thought of the episode, or just give us some, alternate ideas for what you would have done with a prompt. That's always fun.
Did you listen back to episode 6 and did we repeat some of the ideas?
Yeah, maybe
let us know.
We just fucked that up and can't remember our own games.
We don't remember all of the ones that we did.
No, it's hundreds. We are also part of the 8-Bit Collective, and this is a group of podcasters doing shows around video games and pop culture and role-playing and sports and all sorts of sweet stuff. Cool stuff. Use whichever one of those you like, Trevor.
All of them, because I can't be bothered editing it.
Yeah, I figured. Go to 8bit.net to check them out.
Okay, and if you like Australian gaming podcasts, you can find a whole heap of them at the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook or at AGP Network on Twitter. And finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the use of the song Mad Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
Trevor.
What?
Do you hear that? It's coming closer.
Snap.
The popping. The snapping. The crackling.
No.
Save us, Tony Tiger.
They're great.
At killing.